Hello guys, welcome to this guide on how to climb with Twinshot. First off, let's look at why you would want to play Twinshots right now. The comp is very flexible with items, giving you both the option to do AD carry and AP carry. The comp is easy to play alongside Econ traits. It's very easy to flex in Yordles because of Quirky, and it's easy to fit Mercs because of Gangplank. You get to play around Jinx as your win condition, one of the strongest legendary units in the game right now. And lastly, GP just got a massive buff to the damage from his ability. In this guide I'll teach you how to flex between Twinshot reroll with either Gangplank or Lucian as your main carry, and a fast 9 ward into Jinx carry. While doing some research for the comp, I decided to one-trick it, and I managed to hit Diamond in only 24 games. Here's some stats on how it went, and I'll leave a link to the profile in the description if you want to study the games even further. First, Carousel, there's a lot of legitimately good items to go for. I usually defaulted into picking Bow first, because then I can carry Gangplank and make Jinx items early. But you can also go for Glove and Sword, which I think works perfectly fine too. You can also go for Rod and build towards Lucian items, but for most of my games I defaulted towards AD, and I think that yielded some better results overall. If you hit Yordles, you want to play around this board. At level 6 we can then put in Swain to get both Arcanist and Hextech online. Or you can play Gangplank if you hit him, giving you 3 Twinshot instead. You want to stack your tanky items on Poppy, because she's going to be the first unit we sell when we transition into the late game. And then you can stack your AP items on Lucian, and your AD items on Gangplank. The other variant of the early game board is playing around Mercenaries. At level 5 we can put in Lucian for Hextech and Twinshot, and at level 6 we can play Corgi for more Twinshot. If you high roll an early Merc spat from the tome you're guaranteed now from the Dragon Egg, you want to get 5 Mercs in as soon as possible. If you get 5 Mercs at the start of stage 3, you are guaranteed a really good game from there. Now remember, with Mercs you want to lose streak as much as possible for the early game, so you might not even want to stack your items yet, because it's a balancing act of not taking too much damage but still guaranteeing the loss. And meanwhile with Yordles you get the gold whether you win or lose, so that's a little easier to begin with. If you are a heathen and a complete degenerate like me, you can go for the double dip, running both Mercs and Yordles. I did this in one game and it actually worked out. Gangplank works well with Infinity Edge Last Whisper plus a defensive item, usually BT or Edge of Night. The crit is good because it scales off the extra base AD that he gets from the Twinshot trait. Last Whisper is a must, he needs it to cut through the enemy front line. You can sub Infinity Edge for Deathblade or Giant Slayer. Jinx can use the same items, and she also works really well with Rageblade. Lucian can carry with Deathcap, Dual Gauntlet and Infinity Edge, but he can also use Giant Slayer, and Gunblade as a third item can provide some crazy heals for him in the front line. If you hit Corgi 2, it can be worth to jam items on him until you find Gangplank 2 or Jinx. Remember to prioritize items for your frontline. You need a tanky frontline to enable the rest of your team. Now I wanted to talk a bit about the Dragon Eggs. They're gonna be in every game now, and there's definitely some ways to play around them better than the other players in your lobbies. You're always guaranteed a tome, and sometimes you're also gonna get regular items or even radiant items. Now I played a bunch of set 5.5 back when you would see a lot of radiant items in play, so I feel like I have a head start on which radiant items are broken, and I want to share some of that info with you guys so you can apply it to your own games. But before that I want to explain a little bit about how Tome of Traits work right now. You can actually impact what traits you get offered from Tome. It's based off of the board you played the last time you fought another player, and the amount of traits that you have on your board determine the amount of tailored emblems that you get offered. But there are ways to cheat the system. For example, if you play a Lulu, you get Yordle and Enchanter on your board, but these traits do not generate emblems. They still, however, do impact the amount of traits that you get offered on your own board, thereby spiking your chances of getting exactly the emblem that you want. Now, let's look at what emblems are good to go for when you pop your tome. Mercenary emblem is great. It allows you to hit 5 Mercs really early, and it makes it easier to get a cash out because you can sack one of the weaker mercenary units. Bruiser emblem is good if you play around Bruiser frontline. Bodyguard emblem is great, usually then you can play 4 Bodyguard early, and that's a great fast 9 angle. Chemtech is decent, you can play Zac plus Renata or Victor, and Chemtech Jinx is buzzin'. Socialite is great. I played a lot of triple Socialite, Jinx and Gangplank. The healing that you get at 3 Socialite is just insane on these units. Scrap Emblem is decent as well. With this one you get to play 2 Scrap early, and you can swap out the Blitzcrank late game for another unit. You can also go for 6 Scrap late game, but I only recommend doing this if you get 2 Scrap Emblems. You don't really want to run Ezreal or 6 on your final board. Mutant is good if it's Omnivamp, that's very strong. The other mutants are not really worth. With Arcanist Emblem you can build around Arcanist Lucian, also opening up the option for AP Jinx, which is super spicy. And lastly, Clockwork Emblem is also really solid right now. Okay, so for the Radiant items, obviously I can recommend you all of the good standard 80 items. These are like the originals, but 30 to 50% stronger. And they all work great on Gangplank and Jinx. Oh, except for Radiant Last Whisper, this item is fake, I don't know what it's doing here. This one actually does the same as the original. But I'd rather talk about the Radiant items where the attributes have been tweaked in a way, so the item actually becomes a lot stronger, like more than double the power level compared to the original. Radiant Banshees applies the shield to your whole team, potentially giving you 3 times the value of the original, and it also gives extra health. Radiant Seeks gives almost double the attack speed. It also gives a little lifesteal on top, which further scales with the extra attack speed. Radiant Morello burns for 12 times the max health and lasts 3 times longer compared to the original, and it also gives its holder 30 mana. Radiant CC Rod spawns a much bigger, much more tanky bug on your board. Radiant Shroud shoots a bigger beam, and the mana increase is bigger, and all of your own units get more mana on top. And Radiant Shift deals double the damage to double the amount of targets and has 20% more MR reduction. Combine this one with Rageblade and the enemy team is just gonna melt. Now at the start of stage 4, you're probably sitting on a board that looks like this. We always level to 7 here and usually put in Swing for a lot of synergy value. If you played Mercs, you should have gotten your payout by now. If not, you want to spike now and get the payout before stage 5. Level to 7 and start rolling for upgrades. At 7 we can put in Ashe for Sniper, or we can swap out Corki and Ashe for 4 Bruisers, especially good if you have a Sunfire on your board. Try to play your strongest board and around upgraded units. Don't worry if that doesn't fit your synergy perfectly. Hit a 2-star Gnar, 2-star Senna or 2-star Morg. Go ahead and play it. We can always sell these units later once we get the payout and we start transitioning into the late game board. At stage 4 you also have to decide if you want to reroll or if you want to push levels and play for Jinx. Deciding factors are how many Gangplanks and Lucians you already have, if the rest of your board is upgraded, rolling with a fully upgraded board is a lot less value. And lastly you need to check if Twinshot is contested. If it is contested, you'd rather push levels. If you end up going for the reroll angle, you're gonna stay 7, then your goal now is to 3-star these units. If you decided to push levels, your Econ should be pretty solid by now, and you should be able to level to 8 on 4-5. Here I usually transition out of Yordles, which is a super easy transition, you can do it in only 3 steps. First you level to 8 and play Braum, then you swap out Swing for Leona, and lastly we swap out 6 for a stronger scrap unit, Echo. And that's it. If you can hit the sport somewhat upgraded, you should be able to go level 9 with it. Now let's take a look at how to transition out of Mercs. You can transition to 6 Bruisers, but that's only if you hit a Bruiser emblem or if you high roll a Tahm Kench early. Hitting a somewhat upgraded version of this board should definitely be able to carry you into the late game. Late game, this transition gets a little more difficult, because you usually want to pivot into a bodyguard frontline. You don't want to play Vi and Jinx together because of the rival trait, so your most capped board is never gonna revolve around a Bruiser frontline. The first thing you have to decide is whether you want to pre-level to 4 on stage 1-4. You want to do this if you're either sitting on 2 out of 3 Yordles and want greater odds of hitting Lulinar and Corki, or if you got an Illaoi and high rolled a Misfortune or Gangplank from Orbs, then you can do it to get greater odds of hitting Quinn. You can also do it if you have 1 or more 2-cost pairs and you want to hit those going into 2-1. Next, you need to decide if you want to pre-level to 5 into the first carousel. You should do this if you're win streaking and or sitting on a lot of 2-cost or maybe even 3-cost pairs. If you're sitting on a lot of 1-cost pairs and don't have a win streak going, then don't level, but try to hit 10 gold instead going into the carousel and get your early Econ going. You should always aim to hit 20 gold and 2-5 going into Crux. 20 gold at that stage is always a sign of solid Econ. Anything above is very good Econ. Bear in mind that you might have to sell 3-cost units that you're not going to use for a while. Don't get baited. Remember, gold is important early to get that Econ snowballing. Normally you level to 6 on 3-2 and roll if you have pairs or if you're win streaking. Don't roll below 20 so you can still econ throughout the stage. In some games you might want to go 7 on 3-5 already if you have a big win streak and a good unit to play. Make this tempo play if you can do it with at least 20 gold left. Normally you level to 7 on 4-1 and roll until you hit Gangplank 2 or Illusion 2 and a somewhat upgraded frontline. Try to still keep some gold left, unless you're stuck in Merc Prison, then it's okay to send it to 0 so you can get your payout. If you reroll Twinshots, you stay level 7, econ up to 50 and then slow roll, meaning not rolling below 50 to maximize your econ. Else, you usually level to 8 and 4-5, and in a lot of games you might have to roll some here. This depends on the strength of your own board versus the lobby strength, your econ, and last but not least your health. Remember to scout the lobby to get a feel whether your own board matches your opponent's in power level. You can also hit Gangplank Illusion fairly easy at level 8, so keep an eye out for them still, even if you push levels. Depending on your econ and the strength in the lobby, you can go fast 9 on 5-5 or 6-2, or maybe 6-5 if you spend a lot of gold rerolling. Good job guys, you made it to the late stage of the game. Now let's look at how we can spike our board from here. If you're Jinx on level 8, you can play her instead of Echo. If you reroll, you want to keep your items on Gangplank. If not, find a replacement so you can transfer the items to Jinx. Now let's swap out Leona and Poppy for some better units, and transfer the tank items to Braum. I like to play Ori since she just got insane buffs, and with Senna we get Enchanter and Socialite. Then we can go 9 and play Jhin for Clockwork. From here we can swap out one of our Twinshots plus Jhin for Kai'Sa and Camille. That's a lot of synergy, and now we can duo carry Kai'Sa. You can do the same swap if you reroll, just take out Corki instead if you're sitting on an itemized Gangplank 3. Instead of Kai'Sa Camille, 3 Socialite Jinx can be really strong, especially good if you don't have a healing item on Jinx already. From here we can sack Corki, Blitz and Gnar for Galio plus Echo for Scrap. If you didn't go for reroll and 3-starred them, the Twinshot units beside Jinx falls off a little at the very late stage of the game, so swapping them for stronger units in stage 6 is always correct. Don't be scared to frontline Jinx if that's where the Socialite spot is. Then we can just tuck her between these big guys and she will definitely cast. 3 Socialite is also amazing for the reroll strat. In my opinion, it's the most capped version of this board. And lastly, here's a list of the best augments for the comp. Most of these are combat augments, which makes your board stronger, and all of these scale with the attack speed and damage from the Twinshot trait. And in my opinion, these are the best for climbing consistently. Always gotta have my Pandoras in there, guarantees premium items. Treasure Trove 1 is the only Econ Augie here, cause it usually gives 3 to 5 gold plus a component. Econ plus early tempo is just broken. Triforce is good tempo and especially good if you reroll. And if you get the Sharpshooter augment, it's the easiest first of your life. Alright guys, that's the video for now. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to leave a like and sub if you found this helpful. Good luck on the climb, and I'll see you little legends in the next one.